Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
Hello out there in Radio Land. This is Hank Hill, Assistant Manager, Strickland Propane. Come on down to Strickland where you can get a great deal on the new Char King 320 propane grill. We have other propane grills and propane accessories for your grilling needs. So come on down. Mention this ad for an extra 5% off of your next propane tank fill-up. That's Strickland Propane, Harlan, Texas. Have a great day.
I tried to fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas. The trailer park is nice and dark, deep in the heart of Texas. That drinks his brew and he spits his chew, deep in the heart of Texas. The TV blares, but no one cares, deep in the heart of Texas. Here we go!
Hey there, welcome to King of the Hill Rewatch Podcast. I am Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
King of the Hill Season 3, Episode 3, Peggy's Headache.
Peggy's Headache.
This is a good one.
Yeah, we got a few things to get into before the episode, so we'll get after that. And then
It's still a good episode.
I'm going to go ahead and somebody had complained to me. Well, not complained, but asked me if I can go back to doing the producer, the thing at the very beginning of the episode like I had been doing before.
Yeah, do
so I've got all that lined out and ready for you guys.
I'll be back in a few minutes.
All right,
just kidding.
Mike will be back.
Go ahead. Do it.
No. We're going to do it. We're going to get all that out of the way. And before we start it's like, you know how used to before we started the episode, I'd be like, hey, Mike, hold on. Let's go ahead and get
We'll do it. Let's go.
Okay. So, all right.
Stop wasting time.
So, this
go,
particular episode, Peggy's Headache, we've got a dude named Joseph Stillman is the, I want to say he's the writer. He wrote this episode, Joe Stillman. And he is also known for writing quite a bit of executive story editor, for a good chunk of season 1. So
cool.
Pretty much all of season 1, actually. All of season 1 he did. So the pilot, Square Peg, Order the Straight Arrow, Hank's Got the Willies, Luann Saga, all the way down. He's the one that did all the story editing for it. He wrote Square Peg. He wrote the smoking episode, Keeping Up with Our Joneses. He wrote this episode, Peggy's Headache, and then he wrote a episode further down called Good Hill Hunting, but he also co-produced a chunk of episodes, and he also consulted on a lot of episodes. So he had a very big deal with King of the Hill. But
give me his name one more time.
His name is Joe Stillman.
Joe Stillman.
But he is also he wrote Shrek. He was one of the writers for the first Shrek, and he helped with the screenplay for Shrek 2. Shrek in the Swamp Karaoke Dance Party, Shrek the Ghost of Lord Farquaad, Far Far Away Idol, Shrek the Third, Shrek the Hall, Shrek Forever. He's been attached to the Shrek franchise, which just says enough. If you're in animation and you dealt with Shrek, that was used as a punishment. Did you know that they used that it's called getting Shreked?
What do you mean?
So the animation company, everybody that had done Prince of Egypt. Do you remember the DreamWorks Prince of Egypt? Yeah. Okay, so that movie flopped. Yeah. So everybody that was attached to Prince of Egypt,
you'd think kids would love Bible animation.
Well, you think they would, but they don't. So they got Shreked. So they were now put on the movie Shrek instead, and that was a form of punishment. But it ended up being
by the studio.
Yeah, by the studio. It was like that. They literally called it inside of the company getting Shrek'd because they would get put on the Shrek movie if something they were attached to failed. They ended up having some of the best animators in the building stuck in one room writing Shrek, and then you have the director.
2001.
Yeah, it's been a while. And then you have the director. His name was Chris Mueller or Moeller. It's Moeller, German. And I'm not German, so I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I'd probably butcher that. But yeah, he was involved in The Simpsons and King of the Hill.
Yeah.
And there was he was the creator of a TV series. I've never heard of it. It was in the 2000s, I guess, late 2000s, 04 to 07, called Tripping the Rift. I've never heard of that.
I feel like I remember the name.
I mean, it's an animated, like 3D rendered show. You know what I mean? It's like an animated weird. It's a weird animation. It has a.
I remember this with the aliens.
Yeah, with the aliens.
They're
and then
all aliens.
A very seductive, protagonist.
Yeah, it says Star Wars in X-rated CGI animation. This parody twist on the sci-fi
Let's just say if she was a deer, she would be mounted on the wall.
Yes. Captain Chode is the lead character.
Captain Chode. Yeah. See, that sounds like some riveting TV right there, Mike. We might have to start a Tripping the Rift podcast. We just eat handfuls of mushrooms and then talk about this show.
Darth Bobo.
Darth Bobo. Yeah. So I imagine there's probably a lot of sci-fi humor in this Tripping the Rift, whatever the hell.
Oh no!
Whatever the hell this is. I twisted it the wrong way. I was trying to tighten it. It was kind of loose, and I just loosened it further to hit me in the mouth.
Rusty fell down.
Yeah, all right. Got to fix the
mic.
mic.
But he got back up.
We're back.
All right, so we got that taken care of.
Yep. So that's done.
I got a couple of things I want to hit.
Yeah, let's hit everything. Come on.
Number one.
Let's get after it.
We've got some stickers to give away.
Yeah, we got some
Tell us how
stickers.
that's going to work.
Okay, guys. So the way I'm going to do this giveaway is I'm going to run it on Instagram and Twitter. Those are the only two social medias I'm going to post it on. I'll make a post when this episode airs. So for everybody that's listening on Twitter Space, it won't be till Monday. You'll have to listen to this episode on Monday to remind yourself.
By the way, Chode McBlob from that movie or from that TV show.
Oh, okay.
Was Stephen Root.
Oh, Stephen Root. I got you. Oh, okay. So it's the connection again. So
there's a lot of
it was probably
here,
the money that he made off of King of the Hill. He started Tripping the Rift with. Is probably what it was.
Maybe
then.
so.
Yeah. Okay. So back to the sticker giveaway.
Stickers.
So I'm gonna create a post. I'm gonna post it on Instagram and I'm gonna post it on Twitter.
These are some good looking stickers too, folks.
There's some really good quality stickers. Really good quality vinyl stickers. So I'm gonna make the post. So what it'll be is we're gonna give away 10. Just to start off with. 10. It could end up being more, but just to start off with, we're going to see what kind of engagement we can get. So we're giving away 10 stickers. The way to win them is to either like, share, and follow the post on Twitter or Instagram. You don't have to do it in both, but you have to do it in one of either. And I'll put everybody's username in a generator, and I'll generate the winner from that. There's the internet, and I'll find one of those.
Internet.
They have those.
Yeah, those
spin wheels,
random generators.
Spin wheel generators.
Our buddy,
they use them on Twitch a lot.
Our buddy
Andrew
G uses one.
Yeah. That's how he does all his giveaways.
You know what? You know what I found here in the studio the other day?
No, I don't know what you found.
We have a prize wheel.
Oh, wow.
Like the one that you spin and goes clack, 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 clack.
Yeah.
We've got one of those.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'd forgotten all about it.
That's riveting TV.
I'm wondering what the hell that was for.
Yeah.
I don't know either.
It was for an ill-fated Pokemon show that somebody was going to do here.
Oh, an ill-fated Pokemon show.
All right, so
I'm still down to do a Pokemon show. So if there's anybody out there in the land of Pokemon, let's do a show.
There's nobody out there that likes Pokemon. To win one of these stickers, they need to like, share,
and follow the page.
What if they already follow?
If they already follow, then it doesn't matter. They're already following. They just need to like and share the post. Like and share the post.
Like and share it. That'll put you in the bucket.
That'll put you in the bucket. So
we shake up
that
the
is
bucket.
Monday. I'll make a post on Monday on Instagram, and then it will be the same post on Twitter.
And I'll tell you
one
this.
of either. You don't have to do both. I'm not going to be extra. Make it exclusive to one or the other. Either or is fine.
I'll tell you this.
Both doesn't make it any better. There's only one entry. It's a one-entry drawing. I don't believe in 500 entry drawings where somebody with more money could buy their way to entering in more.
I'm all for that. I mean, if you want to send me some cash, I'll send you some cool stuff.
But it's not gonna. It's still one entry. Like,
please don't send cash in the mail, by the way.
Please don't. Please do, actually.
I will tell you this: if you are, it's not gonna make it to you. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
You got to wrap it in paper or something
money
so you can't
spends
see it.
Either way, yeah.
Oh, no. I'm happy to have someone hand me cash. I'm just saying, put it in the mail. You're taking your chances.
Yeah.
I will say that if you're hearing this later than November of 2022, the giveaway is over. So just letting you know.
Yeah. Later than 2022.
We might be giving away something else, though, at that point.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and it's the year 2024, you probably need to reevaluate your life at this point. You're probably in the middle of an apocalyptic scenario and you're listening to King of the Hill podcasts.
While the boots are going over your head.
Yeah, you got
the artillery's firing outside your window.
Flying by. Yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah. Hey, I want to mention one more thing, and then we're going to get started here on Peggy's Headache.
Yeah. Oh, well, we have the reviews as well that I wanted to go through real fast. I'll let you go first.
Let me mention this because you don't know that I'm mentioning this.
No, I don't know. This is the first time I'm hearing this information. Believe it or not.
We have talked about this before, but you didn't know I was going to bring it up.
No, I didn't.
There is a podcast out there called Dang Old Podcast.
Oh, there is a podcast out there called Dang Old Podcast. You're correct.
And you have said that it is a King of the Hill podcast as well.
It is.
You have said that you have reached out to this person.
I have multiple times.
And they don't seem to want to be involved with us.
They don't. I think that there's a little bit of hesitation from them because we're in the same niche. Sure. And it is a really niche thing to be a part of, the King of the Hill fandom.
That's why we should band together, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I think they feel threatened by the fact that I want to collaborate with them. And anybody that's collaborated or had any kind of conversation with me knows that I'm all about like cross fertilization and helping each other out. It's not about me gaining something over him or me going to do his podcast so I could steal all his listeners.
No,
I'm doing it to encourage everybody to listen to everybody and everybody could win at the same time. I just don't feel like if we're going to have successes, why can't we help other King of the Hill content creators like we already have done? We have brought King of the Hill content creators on before. So it's in that same vein. It's not nefarious at all.
Yeah, all I'm saying is we would love to collaborate with some other King of the Hill creators,
and if the producer could flag that for me and get me that sound bite of me saying that about Dango Podcast, that way I could use that and I could send them that sound bite. It's not nefarious. It really is like a cross fertilization.
We just want to help.
So anybody that's listening to this, the call to action for us this week is we're going to ask you to go over to the Dango Podcast and say, hey, we would love to hear you guys do something with Bois, and we would love to do something with them. Wow. You know, whether it be just a conversation or whatever they want to do, a collaboration episode. It doesn't matter.
Collaborate and listen. All right,
it's not nefarious. It's a brand new edition.
Let's get our reviews done, and then let's get into this episode.
Yeah, so we've been meaning to do this for a while.
So I'm an old man.
There's
Rusty. I'm dying.
You're dying?
In front of you.
Okay. Yeah. So there's not a whole bunch of reviews that we get, but the 4 that we have, I've been meaning to talk about, which are kind of funny. So the 4 that we have is from a guy named Seth CLT, and Seth actually. He me and him correspond back and forth on Twitter, and he said fans of King of the Hill will enjoy scene-by-scene recaps of each episode and funny insights from the Texan team of Mike and Rusty.
Texan team.
Yeah, you'll like it so much you'll re-listen as much
as
you
Seth.
Rewatch the show.
Yeah,
thanks,
that's great.
Seth. Great pod. I tell you what. That's what he says. I like
tell
that.
you
Thanks,
what.
sir.
That's great.
Loose Morals and Capri Suns.
Yeah.
That's our 4-star review.
What a wonderful name that is.
And yeah, it's a great name. Loose Morals and Capri Suns. So show my gal Luann some love. Yeah. And it says,
We've referred to this before.
We have.
Yeah.
I know Luann is insane, but please show my gal some love or at least tolerance. We don't only tolerate Luann here at Bois. We embrace Luann and we love Luann. And
we're Team Luann.
One of my favorite voice actors from this show is Brittany Murphy. So we'll go ahead and just leave it at that. The next one is Sweetie Retro Girl.
Sweetie Retro Girl.
5 stars, great podcast.
Thanks, Sweetie.
King of the Hill is one of my favorite TV shows, and you guys do a great job recapping each episode with a touch of humor. Keep up the great work.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
we appreciate
sweetie.
that again. And then last but not least, JP Camp. It's
Camp.
another 5-star review here.
5
and
stars,
it says,
5 stars.
everybody loves King of the Hill. Such a funny show. Fun to listen to y'all talk about episodes I forgot about.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
there we
that.
go.
Hey, there was one more review, and I read it to Mason. It is one that you sent me.
It is.
While
Yeah.
back.
I forgot about
you
that
remember
one. Yeah, I do remember now.
And this one was left. This is an Apple Podcasts
Yeah.
review.
I forgot all about
This
this
is
one.
from, or it may be Facebook. I don't know. It's one or the other.
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, but this is from Aubrey Coble.
Oh,
I
yeah,
hope
it's
I'm
Facebook.
saying that right.
It's definitely from Facebook.
Cobble, one of
Coble.
those two. Yeah, Audrey, you know who you are. Says, found the podcast when I searched King of the Hill on Spotify. I enjoy it. Rusty, Mike, and Mason are all pretty funny, and I enjoy listening while I'm driving. It's almost like I can watch the episodes in my head while I drive. Funny face with a tear. If you love King of the Hill, you should check out the podcast. Thank you, Aubrey. That's so very nice of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate that. We appreciate all of that from everybody.
Boy, oh boy.
Even
You're not
from
kidding.
Loose Morals and Capri Suns. I'm with it. Thank you so much for all your guys' support.
All right, let's do it. Let's get into this episode.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's crack an egg.
So, first and foremost, no bell, no yell.
No bell, no yell.
Yeah. This is Peggy's Headache. We are looking at Season 3, Episode 3. We start off with something we never see, which is Peggy coming outside to pick up the paper in her bathrobe, carrying her coffee.
Yep.
You just never see that.
No, you don't see that.
You know?
It's a unusual morning scene here.
We see Dale next door. He's coming out and locking up the door in his big orange jumpsuit and getting into his dead bug car. And she says, "Morning, Dale." Dale says, "Mm." And then he sees John Redcorn coming to his house,
Yep,
which
John
I
Redcorn's
guess
walking
happens. I'm assuming they say 3 days a week.
I don't
but
know. It
this
was just
feels like an
so-
everyday thing.
Yeah, it was just super, super casual.
So he's walking.
Uncanny.
Yeah, he's walking in, and he's John Redcorn, and gets in his truck and just leaves. You know,
Yeah, just gone.
John,
Dunzo.
John is like, "Deal," and then Peggy says, "Morning, John Redcorn." He's Peggy, just dropping off new healing herb for Nancy to help with her migraines, ginkgo biloba.
Yeah, I think it's funny how he tries to explain himself, even though Peggy's
Yeah,
the
like
only
it-
one at
like
this
it
point who
means
doesn't
anything.
know.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, we already know that Peggy's pretty oblivious to it, and everybody else is. There's more hints.
She's
at
oblivious
everybody
to
else's
everything,
savviness
honestly.
to it.
Yeah.
She is. She really is.
She says, "Oh yeah, sure, I've heard of that." And then he has a key to the house. He goes in the house. He pulls down the shade, and then we hear Bad Company with "I Can't Get Enough of Your Love"
Yeah,
playing
can't
in
get
the
enough of
background.
your love.
Now we're in the kitchen with Peggy, and she's reading the paper, and she's kind of chuckling to herself. And Hank says, "You must be reading Doyle Harkavy. What's he got for us this morning?" She says, "When it comes to starting the day, nothing wakes me up faster than coffee." Boy, he's got that right.
Yeah.
That is nothing. That is absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
These musings are nothing. Bobby is 100% right, and I'll tell you when he comes to this decision.
Yeah.
When it comes to starting the day, nothing wakes me up faster than coffee. That's nothing.
That's nothing.
All right, but Hank and Peggy seem to just love it, just love the musings. So she reads another one, says, "They say children are a blessing, but mine are holy terrors." Ha ha ha. Everybody thinks it's so damn funny. There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
I view newspaper columns as just Twitter, just a wasting ink.
You know,
Yeah.
you know what I heard last night? I was watching something on YouTube. It's called A Very Special Episode. It's put out by Funny or Die. And what they talk about are like these old sitcoms that used to do the very special episodes, you know, like where somebody gets cancer or something in the middle of a sitcom.
Yeah.
You know, or somebody's niece falls down the stairs or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And at one point, this is a Mr. Belvedere episode, and at one point, the guy is reading through the dictionary, and the announcer from Funny or Die called it Wikipedia Classic, which I That's a
Wikipedia classic. That's a good joke.
That's a fantastic thing to call the dictionary.
Wikipedia classic.
So she reads another one, and it says
Do they have a night mode for Wikipedia classic?
Yeah, I think
I guess there was no night mode back then. Turn the lights off.
So Luann comes in.
Light a candle.
Luann comes in, and she starts chuckling. She doesn't even really know what she's laughing at.
No, she really doesn't know what she's laughing at all.
But the continuity is still there.
But it's funny because if you notice when she laughs too, like Hank looks over at her like, "What the fuck?" Bah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're all laughing, and Peggy says, "Oh, Doyle Harcavey knows children. Of course, his daughter jumped out a window." That is dark.
And Peggy,
That's dark
not Peggy,
stuff
but
right there.
Luann is still like gut bursting laughing.
We don't know if Doyle Harcavey's daughter lived, died. We don't know. She just jumped out a window.
She was gone.
So Luann laughs harder, and then she stops abruptly and goes, "Oh," like she just heard it, just realized that.
Oh.
Peggy says, "I don't believe it. Doyle Harcavey is retiring from the musings column." And Luann, still, I don't think she knows who the hell this is. She goes,
I don't think she knows much of anything. At this
Peggy
point.
says,
we
gotta be
love
nice to Peggy.
Luann. We love Luann, but in this situation right here, there's a little denseness going on. So level with me here, please, Capri Suns.
She's a little dense. Peggy says, "Yeah, he'll write product descriptions for Bradley Air and Heat. I don't know how they'll ever replace him." And Luann says, "I know how. You could write that column, Aunt Peggy. You're a natural." Hank says, "Now, Luann, Peggy has some musings now and then, but Doyle Harcavey is a musing machine."
Yeah, he's a musing machine. Well, he is. Look at him, though. He's just he's on. He's just topically where he needs to be. Because in the morning,
coffee
if you
wakes
need
you
to
up
wake up,
faster.
Have a coffee.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
have a coffee.
Have a coffee.
Yeah.
You gotta wake up.
He
to
probably
coffee.
started this whole damn thing.
He probably started coffee.
He probably started, the whole Starbucks thing.
He started the whole coffee industry.
He started coffee.
Single-handedly.
Him and that guy with the donkey.
Yeah.
She says, "I think I could do it as well as anyone else could. I play Boggle, and it takes verbal ability, and I'm always making observations all day long." Hank says, "Really? Go ahead and come up with one." Like, puts her ass on the spot.
Puts her on the spot.
She says, "You mean right now? Okay, all right. Well, let's see. I like milk." And Bobby says, "Oh, that's the best one so far. Do one about cookies."
Oh, Bobby, yeah. Bobby loves milk.
Bobby's fantastic. Now we get kind of a montage of Peggy working on her musings, just kind of sitting there in the living room. She's writing down the three things that she has on her little
Isn't this where that riff starts?
What do you mean?
The riff in the background that's kind of like like it kind of plays throughout the whole show. They have a certain riff, like a musical little riff.
It's just kind of tinkling in the background.
Oh, okay.
But
because there is, I don't know if you noticed it, but there is like a riff in this episode that's like they use it. I think like
that kind of thing between scenes.
These are like 3 or 4 times in this episode.
So she's got her steno pad out, and for anybody over 50, you'll know what that is. She's got her steno pad out, and she's writing down her musings, and she has 3 on the page. One says weather, the second one says the old days, and then the third one just says young people, and she scratches that one out. She goes, "No, stupid, too obvious."
Too obvious.
And then we go through a couple of things where, one, she goes into the bathroom and takes a BC powder because her head's hurting, and I have some
Bye, Allison.
I have some information on BC powder for you here in just a second.
Hello, do you suffer from migraines, stiff neck, tension headaches? Come see me, John Redcorn, your licensed New Age healer. I'll help you get rid of that. Thank you. This has been my ad.
So she takes the BC powder in the bathroom because apparently she's got a pretty good headache.
Yeah.
And then the scene continues, and we see her. And now she's got a full list.
Yeah, she's got a full list.
So I'd like to read you a couple of the things that she has on the list.
Yeah.
Lots of cookies will make you fat.
Okay, lots of cookies
That's a good
will make
musing.
you fat.
Yep.
Depends though.
Sure.
Are they flavorful cookies, or are they like a specific like, hey, I'm a bodybuilder? Because they have like specific like protein
sure, they
cookies.
have the protein cookies. But I'm assuming even protein cookies, if you eat enough of that crappy sawdust, that it's going to make you fat.
Oh yeah, without working out, any protein will make you big. Yeah.
Second one is thank goodness for plexiglass.
Thank goodness for plexiglass.
Mm-hmm. Just thanks for
It is
plexiglass.
a cheap alternative to glass windows. If you want plastic windows instead, and they're probably more insulated than glass too. They probably do better at keeping hot and cold out.
I don't know about that, but if you get enough of it, I'm sure it does.
Yeah, I don't either.
The third one is sunburn : too much of a good thing. I guess you got too much sun. That's
too
what
much
she's
of a
saying.
good thing.
Yeah. Fourth one is nothing is dirt cheap, and I kind of like this one. Nothing is dirt cheap because dirt is free. Now that's actually amusing, right? That's actually amusing.
That's the best one out of all of them. That's the only amusing thing that she said.
That is the best one until
say it again. Say it again.
Says nothing is dirt cheap because dirt is free.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's the best one until you get to the last one, and I had to rewind it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Here's the final item on her list: give a donkey the chance, and it'll bite you in the ass.
Oh, damn.
So all of those are crossed off her list. Now, I would like to do a little aside here and talk about BC powder.
Right,
I'm not sure that all of our listeners are going to know what the hell a BC powder is.
This is an unofficial ad.
Yes, this is for BC powder, and you can find BC powder at bcpowder.com. So BC powder, very southern thing.
Yeah, I suppose so. Only place I've ever lived is the South, and I've not been to the New England too much, so I don't know if they do it. Do Yankees use BC powder?
Well, I'm going to give you some information here. Originally produced at the Heppelschleimer Clinic in Graz, Austria. I don't know how to say the word. HEPOLSCHEIEMER. No, get away from me.
Okay.
It contains 845 milligram of aspirin and 65 milligrams of caffeine. I didn't realize it had caffeine.
Well,
in it.
caffeine is a
It's a shrinker. It shrinks your wiener.
About shrinking your wiener.
No, it shrinks your
vesicles.
Your vesicles. Yeah,
your vesicles.
BC readily promotes the fact that due to its powder form, it dissolves faster than pain relief tablets and thus gets to work faster. It can be taken in a variety of ways, most commonly mixed into water or soda.
Okay, so hear me out here. So if I crushed up my Tylenol,
yes,
and mainlined it instead of
you go
just
to jail.
Taking it like a pill form, it
would work faster.
Than.
Yes.
Okay.
If you stick it in your butt, it goes faster than that.
I watched Steve on Jackass butt chug alcohol and get really drunk from it really fast.
Yeah. In 2009, BC Powder removed the 195 milligrams of saccharolicide, which is a non-prescription drug with analgesic and antipruritic properties. I don't know. From the they removed that from the Blue Box Original Formula BC Powder, which just falls right off your tongue. Blue Box Original Formula BC Powder. The original formula consisted of 650 milligrams of
aspartame.
600. Excuse me. 650 milligrams of aspirin, 195 milligrams of salicylamide, and 33.3 milligrams milligrams of caffeine.
So no cocaine.
The new packaging states new formula. Same fast relief on the front of the box. The new formula has 845 milligrams of aspirin and 65 milligrams of caffeine. Now, I am going to tell you how you take a BC powder.
How do you take a BC powder?
This is on their website at bcpowder.com. This is not an official ad, but BC, we're happy to take your money or free BC powders. Step 1, tear open the stick pack where indicated.
Okay.
Before tearing, they tell you to tear it open, but then they tell you before tearing, shake the stick pack so the powder settles away from where you tear.
Yeah.
So somebody has tear it open, and it just went everywhere.
Yeah, just went everywhere.
Step 2, pour powder on your tongue. It's easier if you pour the powder on the back of your tongue. As you pour, tap the sides of the stick pack to get all the powder out of the sides and corners. Here's the most important part.
What's that? Lick it when you're done?
Hold your breath so you don't accidentally inhale the powder.
You know what they're doing right there? They're literally giving like a guidebook on how to take drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So you could translate this into another powder. And
I am not
condoning I think
or
that we need to get the FDA over there, and they need to start investigating BC powder a little bit. This is a little suspect. like powder delivery? Like what other company? Name another company that uses powder as a delivery system.
They just told you,
other than like inhalers, because that's a powder, like a
They
Buterol.
just told you that the best way was to mix
Nesquik?
it. Bisquick.
Bisquick, yeah, Bisquick.
Nesquik.
Oh, Nesquik,
Nesquik.
Bisquick.
Nesquik.
Yeah, that too.
Nesquik,
Yeah,
Bisquick. I love a good Bisquick drink. Nice and thick. Step 3 and final step: chase with a beverage. So they told you that it's most commonly taken by mixing into a drink, and then they tell you to take a beverage after. Let me give you.
I was always taught not to take drinks tainted or laced with things.
Sure, especially with Bisquick. Let me give you a little bit of history. BC Powder was conceived at the 5 Points Drug Company, BC Remedy Building in Durham, North Carolina, now owned by Measurement Incorporated. It was developed in 1906 by CT Council in the Durham, North Carolina pharmacy of Germaine Bernard. The name was created from the initial of the pair's surnames.
Okay.
BC is sold almost exclusively in the American South, where it is acknowledged to have a cult following. And I know my dad swore by BC Powders.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, BC Powders came in like a little envelope, like a little waxy paper envelope.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
My dad drank Old Milwaukee for his headaches. He didn't believe in
It came in an envelope as well.
consuming pharmaceuticals.
Sure.
He didn't trust the pharmaceutical companies. Now he's in his older age. He'll take medicines and stuff. But I remember when I was a kid, he wouldn't even take an aspirin.
So because of the cult-like following, BC marketers sponsor many sporting events in the South. The product's distinctive oval-shaped blue logo is a familiar sight to fans at Southern League baseball parks. Outside of the South, the Dollar General chain carries BC Powder nationwide.
Yeah, they do.
BC Powder has historically been most commonly associated with the relief of headaches. That plays
like
into our
Is that like
story.
a contractual agreement or something?
What, with Dollar General?
Dollar General, like a
I'm sure.
contractual distribution,
Yeah.
Nowhere else will you find BC Powder.
No,
but
I
at your
think
Dollar General.
I think they made a deal with Dollar General, and Dollar General is nationwide.
Well, Dollar General too. Okay, so I've been delivering fine wines back and forth between here and Houston, and on these journeys in the middle of nowhere, you're literally in towns of like 4,000 people. 3,000 people, too, hundreds of people in some of these little places, and sure enough, there's just $1 General right there next to the heart of town. The yellow light of Dollar General.
Dollar General stinks.
They're everywhere.
Okay, so for many years,
It's the rural Walmart.
Oh, by the way, it's distributed by Prestige Brands.
Oh, Prestige.
They also distribute Goodies Powder, which is the same thing. It's like BC Powder.
It's BC Powder, but they put a different name on it to try to reach a different market.
BC just has that cult following in the South.
Okay.
For many years, singer and actor Farron Young was a celebrity featured on many of the product's television and radio commercials. For several years, BC's television and radio commercials have featured real-life users of the product. Non-actors who are encouraged to submit their stories to BC Powder through contests announced on radio programs.
Do you think early pharmaceutical companies did that?
Yeah.
Hey, watch Timmy tie off with heroin. He's going to feel so relaxed
I don't think it was
after
heroin,
this.
but yeah. It was
Because they were tying off. They had kits. They would sell, there's advertisements where they sell little kits with a tourniquet and a needle, and then you go get your heroin from your doctor, and then you go home, or whatever opiate you're injecting into yourself.
Sure. Recently, most entries from this contest have been culled from listeners of the Charlotte, North Carolina-based radio program The Big Show with John Boy and Billy.
Oh, The Big Show. Welcome to The Big Show.
BC Powder also distributes and markets BC Cherry and BC Arthritis Formula.
So they're targeting children now.
You can get cherry flavored.
They're
BC
targeting
powder.
children now. So make sure you check your Halloween candy for cherry flavored BC powders.
Especially if it's loose.
Yeah.
In a deal which took effect in 2012, GlaxoSmithKline sold BC Powder and 16 other brands to Prestige Brands.
Oh, wow.
And last piece
What
of
other flavors are there?
Last piece of information here. I want to talk about the other chemicals and things that Prestige Brands also distributes. Beano.
Beano.
You
All
know,
right.
you know what
for
Beano
gas.
is? Yep,
Yes,
yep,
for gas.
Yep. Dramamine.
That is the seasickness
Right.
drug.
Fleet.
I don't know what fleet is.
It's an enema.
Oh, an enema.
Sure.
Wow, what a name. Yeah. They go marching out 2 by 2.
They also do Clear Eyes, the drops.
Clear Eyes. Ben Stein. Did you ever watch that Win Ben Stein's Money?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. Clear eyes or dry eyes. How did that guy make it? I don't understand how he made it.
He was in Ferris Bueller. That's how he made it.
That was it, wasn't he? That was the only thing he was in, right? Bueller.
He was in a lot of stuff,
but that was what launched
that
his
was the big
annoying ass.
You know who he was? He was a speechwriter for Richard Nixon.
No, I did not know
Yeah,
that.
that's who he was.
That's crazy.
That's who he was.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
They also
we fall far from fall far from grace.
They also do Luden's throat lozenges.
Okay.
Nasal crom, Sucrets.
Sucrets. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a throat lozenge, right?
They do. Yes, they do BC powder, of course. Goodies powder. They do Boudreaux's butt paste.
Oh, I know what Boudreaux's butt paste is. Yeah.
Yeah, they do that. That is for babies, right?
Not just for babies; it's for men with chapped asses too. So if you've got a chapped ass, buy Boudreaux's butt baby cream, and it'll
butt baby cream.
It'll definitely it'll smooth out red and sore chafed ass cheeks.
They also distribute Boil Ease, so you can ease up on your boils.
I thought you just put a wooden spoon over the top of the pot.
Compound
and it eased the boil.
W. Compound W,
that's
which
for
is
warts.
which
That's
is
the wart
basically
cream, right?
it's basically super glue that you put on your warts and it freezes them and then just fall off.
Okay.
They also have Wartner, which I'm assuming is for warts.
I'm assuming it's for warts too.
Sominex, Monostat, Summer's Eve.
Okay.
So there you go.
Which
I mean, it makes sense. It's a bunch of stuff.
Well, which that a lot of women's advocacy groups don't really like Summer's Eve because a woman's vagina has a pH balance, and the Summer's Eve disrupts the pH balance. So in effect, it's really not good to. It's not an effective way of cleaning your vagina. Douching is not an effective way.
So happy I brought that up.
So
all right, so we are at her taking the BC powder, and then
we're back to BC powder.
We've got the big list, and she's like, "Oh, these are too obvious." Hank sticks his head in, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you try some out on me? Give me your 5 best."
Give me your
Dude is just quizzing her throughout this whole thing. You think you can do it? Come on, do it.
His supportiveness goes back to his football days, support from a football coach is get better, you suck.
Yeah.
You big baby. What do we say? Baby, want a binky? Yeah, that one.
Peggy reacts with, "I cannot work with you coming in here every 2 hours and yelling at me. I'm going to Nancy's." So she takes off and goes to Nancy's.
And all you can hear is bounce.
Well, she's walking through the backyard, getting into Nancy's back door, which is not the first time that day. And we hear
Nancy's back doors pop.
We hear "Paradise by the Dashboard Lights," Meatloaf blasting from inside the house. She comes in, Nancy, where are you, Nancy? She's knocking on the back sliding glass door.
Yep, beating the hell out of it.
She finally just goes in.
Which is intrusive as hell, because
I'm assuming they've done that before.
Well, come on, Mike. You're sitting there, and the music you hear.
Yeah,
but
she's totally clueless, so she doesn't know. So she's knocking on the glass door. She comes in. We do hear a slight moan from Nancy, which is a little uncomfortable, but she's still like, "Nancy, where are you?" And then
I like to think that moan was John Redcorn pulling out.
And then she finally opens the bedroom door, and we hear the radio stop. And she's like, "Oh, there you are."
No, it doesn't stop. He switches it over to some nature shit real quick.
Yeah.
He's like, "Bloop." Oh yeah, we're listening to nature music, and she's like, whole house is just banging with like 80s rock music before then.
Not only that, but when she opens the door, John Redcorn is standing up, looking at her. Nancy's in bed under the covers, and everybody's shoes are off.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It looks like 2 teenagers got caught having sex by their parents. Yeah,
absolutely. So he turns on the calm sounds, the tinkling wind chimes, and oh yes, we are just back here. Peggy says, "Oh, whew, I had to get out of that house. I'm trying to do some creative work, and Hank thinks he's helping me by making me more and more stressed out. It's giving me a whopping headache."
And again, the naivety from Peggy Hill here is just like, it's grotesque and sickening at this point.
Redcorn says, "Yes, headaches can often be caused by stress." She says, "Of course, John Redcorn, you're a licensed New Age healer. Why don't I try a healing session with you?" "Well, I guess that would be all right. It is my job."
It is my job.
She says, "That'd be great. Okay, I'll call you for an appointment." She closes the door, and then John Redcorn's standing there, and he's like looking out the curtains to make sure she left. That was awkward. What kind of game is she playing? And Nancy's just like, well, I don't think she knows about us. Peggy's got such a trusted nature. She always believes the best in people. You know, all of a sudden I feel dirty. I'm going to take a shower.
And he goes, "I'll join you." They killed me after this one. I feel bad, but not bad enough to not jump in the shower.
All right, so the next scene, we're at John Redcorn's trailer, which it's a really nice trailer. You know, he's got some plants outside. He's got the little step-up thing, and, you know, it's a nice trailer.
Yeah, it's nice. It's not a bad spot at all. Really nice spot.
Peggy pulls up. She's driving a yellow car. I've never seen this car.
I've never seen this car either.
Where'd the yellow car come from?
This might be just a new
Mason.
Her new car.
I think this is it comes up again later. I think they just gave her a new car at some point.
Okay. I would have liked to have seen that episode where Peggy buys a new car. You know?
Some things are just not that interesting.
Yeah.
That's true, like this show. So we're at John Redcorn's. Peggy pulls up in her yellow car. And she comes in. We see John Redcorn in the window blowing out the incense and getting ready for it. We look around. There's lots of New Age stuff in this trailer, like, you know, the incense and the dream catchers and the stress ball or whatever that damn thing is that goes tinkle tinkle. She says, "Oh, well, isn't this lovely? I wasn't expecting carpet. I was expecting, well, I don't know what I was expecting. Not carpet," which is kind of weird, but.
Yeah, really, really weird.
He says, "Peggy, relax." She says, "Well, what an interesting chair." And he's got one of those front-facing massage chairs like you see in the middle of the mall, right?
Yeah.
And she says, "You know, when I'm sitting in a chair, I never quite know what to do with my head. So this is wonderful. I never know what to do with my head." "Thank you. It's from Brookstone."
From Brookstone.
You know what Brookstone is, right?
Brookstone is a catalog, right?
Yeah, it's like Sharper Image,
Sharper
or something
Image
like
catalog
that.
where they have all the cutting edge technology for
Yeah.
not cutting edge prices.
No, usually pretty expensive and
Very expensive, and
Brookstone is the one that you didn't find in the
very
plane.
fast.
You know, like in an airplane, you would see the other one, but not Brookstone. Brookstone
is the one that you would
lots of malls.
You would be at a grandparent's house, and it would be the magazine that Grandpa had on his bed, on his chair side table or something.
Brookstone and Hustler, and then
it was actually a Bible. He was a very religious man.
He's giving her a massage, and you hear her just ooh. And then we see outside of his trailer again. We hear the car alarm beep beep. And so we know it's another visit.
Yep.
We hear whale songs playing, which is always
joy
lovely.
And sorrow, of gain and loss, like Leanne Rhymes.
No,
Wait, I thought that was the car went off because she dropped her keys.
Maybe.
It was the key.
Oh,
fall out of
Mason,
her pocket
good
or her
catch.
hand or something.
Yeah,
Good catch. I thought it was another visit.
Now I believe this is the only time she goes. I think.
Oh, good job, Mason. Ding ding. Beep beep.
Are you watching these episodes as we go through it as well?
Yeah. I rewatched this one just so I make sure I can keep up.
Oh, dang. All right. Hey, I like it.
Very good, Mason. She just kind of, and he goes, "Okay, there.
You're going to have to start paying this guy.
Lie quietly for
exposure.
as long as you want while I copy both sides of your insurance card." And Peggy just, she falls right asleep on that couch. We're back to the alleyway with all four guys.
Yep.
We've got Hank and Dale and Bill and Boomhauer. And Bill is holding the newspaper, and he says, "Peggy's going to have a hard time replacing Doyle Harkavy. That guy's amazing. You look at his picture in the paper, and he never gets a day older."
Never gets a day older.
Which is the stupid.
Because it's the same fucking
It's
picture.
the same picture, Bill.
They probably run the same picture for 15 years.
That's what they
of this
do.
little column.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Betty-
by the time you retire, like, your column picture was from when you started your career at like 30, and now you're like 80. So yeah.
Well, it's also a what's what's the old horror thing where the guy has the painting of himself that gets older and he never gets older? You know what I'm talking about? Nobody knows.
The
what I'm talking
Langoliers?
about. Langoliers.
No,
That's
I don't
it.
know.
Yeah, Gremlins. So Bill's got the paper, and Hank says, well, she has to mail in a sample column this week, but she'll muse circles around him if she can just get past her headaches. Dale says, well, those headaches are as good as gone. Peggy went to John Redcorn for a healing. Hank's like, what? And Dale says, don't worry, old John R. will fix her up just like he does for Nancy 3 times a week.
Whoa, probably more than 3 times a week. I don't think it's even 3 times a week. I think it's more than that. I think it's 3 times a week, him walking through the front door.
I agree.
How many times a week does he climb out the window, the bathroom window, the back door, over the fence, he's doing Ethan Hunt coming down from the ceiling.
Bill says, oh, Hank, I'm sure Peggy's headache is nowhere near as serious as Nancy's. And Boomhauer says, oh, man, I tell you what, man, you don't even want to. And Hank's like,
don't worry about Peggy. She does not have the same kind of medical condition that causes Dale's wife to suffer unduly.
And then he's like, where is she? And so the next thing we
they
see,
got it all in his head. Come on, man. You know your own wife.
Definitely. Next thing we see is Hank just pacing back and forth, waiting for her to show up.
Yeah, Hank's pissed. He's ready to fight.
Peggy comes through the door singing, everything is beautiful.
And actually, I'll hats off to Kathy Najimy here in this scene. Najimy, I don't know how to say her last name. Najimy. You could hear her little singing chops.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of a little, what do they call it, a sister act.
Yeah, little sister act.
Yeah, I actually watched that the other day. I forgot that she was in that movie, and I was like, oh, there she is.
Were you like in a coma?
No, I just forgot that she was in that movie.
Okay.
It's just been a long time since
I didn't know why you would sit down and watch Sister Act.
Oh, I was at my dad's house.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So she goes, oh, hi, Hank. She's in a wonderful mood, right? And Hank says, hey, Peggy, I guess dinner will be a little late tonight, huh? And she goes, yep. I just had a headache session with John Redcorn. He lit some sweet grass, and I lifted off, and the next thing I knew, I felt freaking fantastic.
Okay, so what is sweet grass?
I'm assuming it's kind of like lemongrass or, that time.
I'm just saying, he lit sweet grass and then she drifted off.
Sweet grass, yeah, I know.
I think he might have got her stoned.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was.
He got her stoned.
Hank says, well, good, your headache's gone. Then I guess you're all done with John freaking Redcorn.
No, this is just the beginning, she says.
John freaking Redcorn.
Well, she said she felt fan-freaking-tastic, so
yeah.
I think that kind of struck a nerve, enough of a nerve for him to throw that shade at her, John freaking Redcorn. And then, of course, this is just the beginning, she says, and she says, I've already scheduled another treatment for next week. And then Hank, not understanding, Peggy, I don't know how some guy rubbing your neck helps your head. I mean, what's the connection?
What's the connection between rubbing your neck to make your head feel better?
And she didn't even think that he was jealous or nothing like that, which is what he's hinting at is jealousy. She says, my reporter's instincts tell me someone's a little grumpy without his dinner. Yeah, I love that.
She goes, I just got my first musing. My husband calls me his better half because I better have dinner on the table when he gets home. Boom, boom, boom.
I don't think that was that funny, but it was good.
So
it's funny for Peggy. For somebody who is naive and not that funny, she goes good for her.
Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna go write that down while it's still fresh.
Yeah.
Luann comes in.
Don't want to forget that one.
What's wrong, Unky Hank? He says, nothing wrong. It's good news. Peggy had her headache cured by John Redcorn, and Luann's just like, oh.
Yeah, because even Luann knows. Everybody knows.
That's right. Everybody knows.
We even get Bobby, like in an earlier episode, where he was like, he called him Mr. Gribble. He was like my dad, and he was like, you mean Mr. Gribble?
Yeah.
That episode. Yeah. I can't remember what episode number that was. But.
And so she gasps whenever he says that, and he goes, stop that. Put your face back the way it was before somebody sees you. And then in comes Bobby. He's like, what's wrong, Luann? Hank says, nothing wrong, Bobby. Now go play outside. Dinner's going to be a little late. And that's when Bobby goes, oh.
Yeah.
That's what gets Bobby. We're back at John Redcorn's trailer.
And I love, okay, so this for me is a really good scene. And what I like about it is it really shows that Hank ain't no punk.
Sure.
Hank will pull up. Hank Hill will pull up on you. If he thinks something's afoot, he is ready to. He's not a guy that's for a lot of talk. He's a guy about action, and that is again one of the.
Oh, he's going to get it over with.
One of the greatest traits about Hank Hill, and I think that's a trait that a lot of people should. If you got a problem, you got to go deal with it, and it shows right here.
Yeah.
Face adversity.
Oh,
Don't run from it.
He's going to get it over with.
Walk head first into it. Crack a cold beer with it.
He is not. He's not about putting things off.
This is my favorite scene of the show. This particular show.
So he goes up to John Redcorn's nice trailer, and John Redcorn meets him outside with a beer and says, "Hank, would you like a beer?" He says, "This is not a social call, John Redcorn. I think," and John says, "I think I know why you're here. Peggy came to me with a headache, a real headache. Her head actually hurt."
Yeah.
Hank says, "I know that, but as I recall, that's how it started with Nancy Gribble. Hank, you are my friend. I promise you I would never heal your wife in the way that I heal the wives of others."
That's funny. Well, it's funny that is nobody else his friend? Like, what about everybody else? Is Dale not your friend? Is all these other guys? Yeah.
I like the idea that I don't see John Redcorn drinking Alamo. I think he deliberately went out after Peggy
I think
left
you're right.
to go and buy them because he knew Hank was going to
He
show
knew
up.
Hank was going to pull up. He already knew how Hank was.
Probably
you're probably right.
there.
He probably had a sixer on ice just waiting for him. He's like, this is going to happen.
So Hank responds to that with, "You better not, because if you lay one unprofessional hand on Peggy, I'm going to kick your ass."
And then
John Redcorn kind of bows up.
Well, not only does he bow up, but again, shout out to Wes Archer for this cinematic little scene, because what he does is he like the wind and the music, and then like it cuts and it shows like the profile of John Redcorn, and you see him standing next to Hank.
Hank just looks back at him and goes.
You don't ever see. Well, that's the thing is the animation part here that I liked is you don't really see a lot of the characters where they do a comparison of size like that, where you're able to see both of them standing up next to each other, because it shows how much bigger.
Oh, he's
John
huge.
Redcorn is actually compared to everybody, and they
we see again here in a second
have
how
the
big
muscle
he is
definition in his arm and stuff. Like when he kind of does that little bow up, like you were talking about.
He bows up, and then Hank looks back at him and goes, "I will,
I will,
like I will kick your ass."
I wanted to ask you guys.
Yeah.
So who do you think it wouldn't be a? It's not going to be an easy fight. Who do you think actually wins this?
Nobody. I don't think it's a fight anybody wins. I think they're two dudes that would just end up exhausting themselves, beating each other's ass to the point where they were just like, "All right, dude, I'm not going to win. You're not going to win." A lot of energy being wasted, and that would be the end of it.
Hank has some deceptive strength. Like, he's got
Hank's a corn-fed,
he's got
meat and potatoes puts a lot on you. And when you're working the work that Hank does, he's lifting heavy fuel tanks.
Not only that, he played a lot of football. And that doesn't just go away.
It doesn't. Like anybody that does sports in high school, anybody I know that I was friends with that did sports in high school, they all still maintain a certain, like they still have the gut and stuff, but they maintain a certain level of that upper body arm strength and physique that just doesn't go away from years of working out.
I think also John Redcorn is just the opposite of that. He's the real defined, works out a lot kind of guy. And
has a lot of stamina.
Yeah, he does have a lot of stamina. Good job. Ding, ding.
He's full of cardio. You're right.
But I think ultimately, Hank would win it because I don't think Hank would give up.
I don't think,
either Hank wins it or Hank dies, one or the other. Because I think Hank goes down with the ship.
I think he goes down with the ship, but I think it gets to a draw just based on the fact that they're both. At the end of the day, Hank is a gentleman, and I think that your word and all those things.
But he's being a gentleman by doing this is what I'm saying. This is to defend his wife.
I got you. So you're saying that
it's a big deal.
I was just talking about in like a celebrity death match type of scenario. I don't think either of them would win. But yeah, if you're talking about him defending the honor of his wife. Oh yeah, John
that makes
Redcorn,
a big difference.
Dead on arrival. Yeah, that does make a big difference.
So we're back in front of Hank's house, and we see Nancy and Peggy like hugging and jumping up and down. Hank pulls up, and Peggy goes, "Oh my Lord, Hank, I got it. They're giving me the musings column." He goes, "Oh, thank God, you got the job. The pressure's off. No more headaches, right?" And as they're going inside, she says, "Are you kidding? I have weekly deadlines now. I'll have to schedule a regular night with John Redcorn."
Ooh.
Regular night. Hank says, what? No, you don't need John Redcorn to get rid of a headache. Here, I'll give you a massage. And then
He's beating the hell out of her.
The weirdest thing, he like pushes her up against the couch. And I mean, he's trying to be nice here, but he is pushing pretty hard on her. And she's like, well, ow. He said, just let me know where you really need it. And she goes, that's my kidneys. He goes, breathe. Picture a wide open field. Throw some birds in there if you want. She's just like, Hank, stop it. Stop it. You're just pinching and slapping and poking me. What is it you have against John Redcorn? He says, don't make me say it. You know what he does to his clients. She says, you think he's overcharging me? Well, for your information, I checked around. He is less expensive than both VIP and Oriental Massage, which is, I think both of those probably have happy endings, wouldn't you think? VIP?
Maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
They probably don't have John
Maybe,
Redcorns.
They don't have John Redcorns. That's right. I'll take the John Redcorn for 3. He goes, for God's sake, Peggy, come on. It's taken him 13 years to cure Nancy's headache. She goes, so you're saying, what are you saying? You're calling him a quack? You're saying his methods aren't effective? He goes, no, they're very effective. Come on. You know what I'm talking about.
And he's trying to drop the bombshell on her without dropping the bombshell on her.
Well,
so that's what we get right here.
He goes, Nancy, John Redcorn, Joseph. And they look out the window, and there's John Redcorn out there hammering a fence for some reason with Nancy and Joseph just watching. And then finally it hits Peggy. She looks back and forth, and she goes, good God.
Did John just leave after Hank did?
I guess he just followed him right over there. Hey, that is a good time for us to take a commercial break, because that is where King of the Hill took a commercial break, and we will be right back. Hello, creators. This is Mike and Rusty from King of the Hill Rewatch Podcast. I want to tell you about an event coming up.
Oh, yeah. We got an event, huh? What do we got, Mike?
This is Rogue Con 2023.
Rogue Con.
Yeah, this is our first convention that we are holding as Rogue Media Network. It is for creators, by creators, about creators, assuming we'll have some creators. This is January 20th, 21st, and 22nd of 2023 here in Waco, Texas. It's going to be held at Nexus Esports, also Texas Music Cafe, also Waco Escape Rooms, also Cultivate 712. There's 2 things going on there. Undercroft, which is a underground speakeasy, and Startup Waco. We're going to have panels. We'll have special guests. We'll have demos. We'll have live shows. A lot of our podcasts are doing live shows.
Music.
We'll have a lot of music. We'll have streaming events, just anything as a creator. This is your place to come. All right, so we are back, and we are in the Hill Kitchen still. It is just hit Peggy that John Redcorn is having an affair with Nancy. This is after, what does Hank say, 14 years or whatever it is? I mean, it's a long time, 12, 14 years. She goes, oh, I just cannot believe I could be so stupid. How could you not tell me what was going on my own side of the yard? Hank says,
my own side yard.
Yeah, Hank says, I thought you knew. How could you not know? I mean, look at Joseph. Where do you think he came from? All the while, Peggy,
Nancy has been telling everybody that he's got a Jamaican.
Well, and Peggy is boxing up all of her New Age crap and just throwing it in the trash, right? I mean, so she's got her incense, she's got her tinkling ball, whatever it is. And he goes, where do you think he came from? She goes, Nancy told me Dale had a Jamaican grandmother. Oh, I believed her. Oh, my God, Dale. Does Dale know? Hank says, no, he's as slow as you, in a sweet, trusting sort of way. He almost stepped right in it.
Yeah, he did.
She goes, oh, shameless tramp. How can she? I just cannot believe. Oh. And then she tries to go outside and smacks her head right on the plexiglass door. Yeah. Thanks for plexiglass. She goes right out, boy, and goes straight up to Nancy in her floppy hat, who is spraying her roses on her own yard on her side of the fence.
Just hanging out, not doing much.
And she goes, you dirty bird, which is a bad thing to call somebody as far as Peggy's concerned. Nancy says, what's wrong, Shug? She goes, Joseph is not Jamaican and neither is Dale, and I'm beginning to suspect that his grandmother isn't either. So, who told you? She says, no one had to tell me. How stupid do you think I am? You've been cheating for 12 years, Nancy. How could you? Nancy says, I have my reasons. She goes, yes, and I've seen those reasons packed into his Sergio Valente jeans.
Woo. Yeah, she saw all 12 reasons.
She also says, I bet you don't even have headaches anymore. And then she goes back into the house.
She's pissed at Hank, rightfully so, though.
But before that, she checks to make sure that the plexiglass is not there. I don't know if you saw that.
She checks to make sure
she's not going to hit her head again.
Well, she's kind of right, though, because, like, I mean, what kind of friends, like, I would hope that if one of my friends had knowledge like this, that they would tell me. I don't know why they hide it from him, but
she goes back
life
in
is
and goes
bittersweet.
She goes straight up to Hank and she goes, "How could you be a look the other wayer? Dale Gribble is your friend." He says, "Now Peggy, you're sort of freaked out because it's still fresh for you. Live with it for a while. You'll see. You'll get used to it." She says, "The only thing I ever want to get used to is a cold glass of lemonade." And then big light bulb goes off over her head, and she writes down the musing. She goes, "I am still a journalist."
Wow, that is a good musing.
And then one of the funniest lines in this entire episode, Bobby, full face sniffing the trash.
Sniffing not just sniffing the trash. He's like a dog, and he's like in the trash. Like, what the hell, Bobby?
He goes, did anyone else sniff today's garbage? And I thought yesterday's garbage smelled good.
We need to get Mason a button that he could hit that says, "That boy ain't right." Every time that Bobby does something crazy, he's just got to hit the button. "That boy ain't right."
So we're back to Peggy coming out the next day. She's coming out to get her paper. She's in her robe again, coffee, just like
she's in her robe,
just like the episode started.
It's like the beginning. Yeah, it's literally the same scene. Almost.
Absolutely, yeah. Dale's coming out.
Probably recycled the animation.
And she's like, "Morning, Dale. You poor man," she says under her breath. Dale says, "Hi, John Redcorn." Dale. And they exchange, looks again, and John Redcorn goes up to the door. And Peggy, with her disapproving ways, she goes, well, John Redcorn.
John Redcorn.
Oh, Peggy, Nancy's headaches are very severe this morning. Must be the pollen. Well.
John Redcorn.
He goes, well. She goes, John Redcorn. He goes, Peggy Hill.
That killed me. I thought that was funny.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
And he's like sliding in the door when he's doing it.
Peggy Hill.
Oh.
Now we are inside of Con's house. We hear the knocking on the door, and Min comes up in her best Jane Fonda workout gear. Peggy Hill, what's so important? I have to jump off the treadmill. Oh, I am so sorry, Min, but I had to talk to someone. It's about Nancy. She's having an affair. And Min, to her, says, oh, my God, she's cheating on John Redcorn? And it's like, she's known all along. Like, everybody's freaking known.
Everybody knows.
And Peggy says, you know about him? Oh, not at first. It took me about an hour, but I'm naive and trusting person. Peggy Hill, you not know? She goes, oh, I knew. She goes, Peggy Hill not know? This is so funny. Okay, who I tell? Oh, I email Con. She's going to email her husband.
She runs in the other room to go email him too. She like shuffles to the other room.
So now we get Hank and Bill and Boomhauer standing in front of Bill's back window, which is a weird place to be because we're not in Bill's backyard very often.
This is not a place that we very often see. Yeah.
Bill says, why aren't we drinking beer in front of my house? We always drink beer in the back of my house. This feels wrong, but I like it. Hank says, Dale will never find us here. Yeah,
but I like it.
Dale will never find us here. We need to talk alone. Does it bother anyone that we've known for years what's going on with Nancy and Dale? Does it? And
does it?
Yeah, Bill says Nancy is having an affair with John Redcorn. This is the first I've heard of it. I am shocked.
Funny. Yeah, I am shocked. And appalled.
I am shocked. That's what I mean. I am appalled. Boomhauer. Yeah, man, I tell you, Pride and Family Secrets, no good skeleton, no cause, man, talking about that Orville Redenbacher, man, just dang old actor.
What's he talking about there? Do you know what he's talking about?
Yeah, so Orville Redenbacher, the popcorn guy.
The popcorn guy, yeah.
Yeah, it's an old guy on the thing. It's like Uncle Ben or whoever, right? You know, these iconic Betty Crocker. It's like these iconic people that are on these labels. They're just actors.
Yeah,
that came out about this time that Orville Redenbacher was not a real guy. He was an actor, and everybody was shocked.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Really,
that's right, Mason.
That's a real thing. Like people were actually shocked.
Yeah, people were shocked. We didn't have a lot to do.
You know,
with that
I always it always bothered me. I like to think that they didn't know. They probably didn't figure out about the affair until probably sometime after Joseph came around.
Yeah.
That's the only way this makes any sense to me.
Well,
sure.
All I know, Mason, is that I am glad that you and I both grew up in the age of the internet, because what in the fuck were they doing before the internet? This kind of shit.
Wikipedia classic.
Wikipedia classic.
So Boomhauer says that. Hank says, look, we can't just discuss it for 5 seconds. And Bill, once again, I don't believe it. I've known Dale and Nancy for years, and they have a fairy book marriage. Fairy book. A fairy book marriage. And Hank just says, oh, shut up, Bill. We're back with Peggy at the kitchen table. The doorbell rings, and it's Dale at the front door.
Yeah,
Peggy's like, why, Dale? How nice to see you. She's being overly nice to Dale.
Yeah, it's being weird almost. It's being real sus.
Yeah, Dale says, I can't find Hank, Bill, or Boomhauer. If they're hiding behind the door, just nod slowly. It's always a conspiracy with this guy.
It's always a conspiracy.
Peggy says, oh, you sweet man. You know, I've been thinking a lot about you. We never get to talk, you and I. Why is that? Awkward pause. I mean, there's a real awkward pause there, right?
Oh, a super awkward pause.
She says, anyway, Nancy should count herself lucky to have a man like you. Just look at you. The way that hat accents your head. Plenty of women would be happy to have you. Good women. Would you like to come in for some pie? And then you get from Dale, kind of like when he jumps a fence or he figures out that somebody knows more than him. He's like, I should go.
Yeah.
And so
he gets, it was kind of weirded out. I mean, she was like,
well, he walks.
It's almost like she's hitting on him.
He walks over to the alley with Bill and he goes, Bill says, hey, Dale, what's going on? He goes, oh, not much. Peggy Hill wants to leave Hank and run away with me.
Yeah, highly doubtful.
Bill, once again, I don't believe it. Why, they had a fairy book marriage.
Fairy book marriage.
Fairy book.
Shut up, Bill.
We are back at the kitchen table, and Peggy is reading her musings to Bobby and Luann. Let's face it, Angie Dickinson has lost her looks. It's not amusing. That's not amusing at all.
Who is that?
Angie Dickinson? She was Policewoman.
Policewoman.
It was a TV show called Policewoman.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
She was Policewoman. Her second musing is mix pineapple juice with club soda. You got yourself a big bucket of crap.
Yeah, you can tell she's reaching a point of frustration here. Yeah, she's getting frustrated.
Mix pineapple juice with club soda. You got yourself a big bucket of crap.
A big bucket.
She says, well, yeah, all right, just go ahead and say it. They're terrible. How am I supposed to appreciate the little things in life when so many big things are wrong and evil? Luann's, oh, don't worry, Aunt Peggy. I'm sure that even Doyle Harcavy had trouble sometimes. And Peggy says, Doyle Harcavy. If you ask me, Doyle Harcavy wasn't that good. And finally, here's Bobby coming to a realization. He's like, oh, I was right. He goes, thank you, Mom. It's about time somebody said it. Yeah. Of course coffee wakes you up in the morning. I mean, that's how they advertise it.
There you go. Bobby said it.
Bobby's like, I thought it was nuts.
He's
what
pissed.
He's thinking.
Yeah, it is nuts. It's not even like, how is that amusing?
It's not amusing. It's not amusing at all. We're at the Little League ball field, I'm assuming. It is a ball field, and we've got Hank and Peggy with their red hats on. I don't know what the name of the team is. Do we ever get the name of the team?
No, I don't think that
they all play on? I think it's a
No.
Strickland team, right?
Yeah, I think it's just a Strickland team.
But then why wouldn't Hank be on the team?
Yeah, it's true.
I think it's just I think they just wanted John at a baseball field.
I don't think that Hank has enough time to be on the baseball team. He's the team manager.
Well, he went and got nachos.
Yeah.
So they're both walking back with those little boxes that you get where they put the nachos and your drink in it. And Hank says, you'll see being with the Gribbles when you know about Nancy is weird at first, but it goes away after a few years.
A few years.
It helps if you think of something else. I use sports. You can use Boggle. And then they go up into the stands, and that's where Dale and Nancy are sitting. Dale's he's super into the game. All right, you guys, just in time. Boomhauer's on second, and Nancy's healer's at bat. Oh, man, look at that John Redcorn. He sure can swing. Wahoo! And we see, once again, John Redcorn in his big, muscly physique.
Yep.
He's got his red, tight softball uniform on, and he is just glistening.
He's out there
in the
looking
sun.
ready to hit dingers. Yeah.
And Hank says, good eye. She goes, Dale says, are you kidding? This guy never strikes out. That ain't right, Nancy. Ain't that right, Nancy? And Peggy, just the whole time, she's exchanging these uncomfortable looks between her and Nancy. Nancy finally starts blushing. Peggy is trying real hard. She's like, oh, boggle, 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 think boggle, think boggle.
And
John
she starts running
Redcorn
through
hits the
words.
ball. Yeah, he hits the ball, and Dale's like, all right, way to go, man. Woohoo, Redcorn's going to score again. Peggy's like, oh, score. And then finally, she just got to get out of there. Dale says, oh, all right, come on, John, come on. He's going all the way. That is enough for Peggy.
She jumps up.
She says, I have to get out of here.
And then I like this joke right here. So Hank has those nachos in his hand. He kind of lifts them up, and he's like, ballpark nachos. You don't buy them. You only rent them. That's a good one.
How many times have you heard somebody say that about beer?
A lot.
Yeah,
You don't buy them. You only rent them.
Now we're in the parking lot. Hank is coming after Peggy, and Peggy's like, I'm done, Hank. My rose-colored glasses are off, and the world looks flesh-colored and unappealing. I cannot live this lie anymore. He says, well, it takes two to talk about, and everyone else already knows and isn't interested. She said, nope. Not everybody knows, Hank. I can think of one person who doesn't, the one person who really should.
Really know.
Then we got back to Dale, and he's like, well, all right, way to go, Big Bad John. And then Hank says, hold up, Peggy. You can't just walk back over there and tell Dale his wife's cheating on him. Just let sleeping dogs lie.
That's it.
It's a great phrase because it comes up again at the end of the show.
Yeah.
She goes, oh, interesting choice of words, Mr. Hill. Lie. He goes, I meant lie down. She goes, I know that, Hank. Dogs don't tell lies. Only people lie. They lie like dogs. And then she goes, because I'm thinking she thinks, oh, that's another musing I can write. Right?
It is amusing.
We then get Peggy at the computer, and she is typing out some of these musings. Hank is working in the garage, and he's sanding. He's got his hand sander out. And in comes Dale. Dale says, Hank, there's something I just figured out you need to know. Hank is like, sorry, I can't hear you. Probably none of my business anyway. Sander. And so Dale goes over and unplugs the sander, and Dale says, Hank, it's important. Your wife loves me and wants to run off together. He goes, I've not yet been able to ascertain where. He says, Dale. He goes, no problem on this end. I don't even find her attractive. Hank says, of course you do, and I appreciate the lie, but Peggy's just being nice to you. But you're a good friend for wanting to tell me. Dale, if the shoe were on the other foot, would you want to know? He said, don't flatter yourself, Hank. Nancy likes her men thin and pale of face.
I think it's funny how they make sure they say pale of face.
He says,
like just the specific verbiage.
He says, I thank God every day for sending me an angel with the hots for my track team physique. Track team physique. We get Peggy typing and then printing out stuff on a dot matrix printer. That sort of printer, right? With the holes on the side. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You know what a dot matrix printer is?
Say that again?
Dot matrix printer.
Oh, yeah, dot matrix printer. Yeah, it does it by dots. It prints it by dots.
Yeah, it goes across. And then we get this montage.
I thought you said enter the matrix printer.
Enter the matrix printer.
I was like, no, I've never heard of that one.
Hey, everybody.
Is it like a special branded?
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
It's only sold
wrapped
by
in green.
Only sold by Keanu
text.
Reeves. Yeah, and he bends over backwards and hands it to you.
You know that Matthew Perry was on Twitter, like trying to start beef with Keanu Reeves, trying to call him a bad person.
Matthew Perry is everywhere all of a sudden, and I don't
really
know
weird.
why.
I don't know why either.
Yeah.
Well, he was bad mouthing Keanu Reeves apparently because of the drama, like pertaining to River Phoenix, because they were all in the same circles. Matthew Perry and all them were all in the same drug circles back in the day,
sure.
And apparently Keanu Reeves was responsible for getting 2 people hooked on drugs that ended up dying from the drug problems. One of them being River Phoenix.
Well,
so
that is what Matthew Perry's saying.
That's what Matthew Perry is saying.
Yeah.
So they say that Matthew Perry like carries this grudge around with him. So he's like now whatever relevancy he's like all of a sudden like created for himself. He
just put out a memoir. I know that.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, he's
it's
ready
the
to tell his
memoir.
story.
So he's told. So his memoir probably badmouthes Keanu Reeves in, which I don't think I've not heard one bad thing in the world about Keanu Reeves at all. I've heard of all the good things that he does and stuff for everybody, and the fact that he gave up like $100 and something million of his contract.
I've heard he does not like purple Kool-Aid.
Well,
it's rough stuff.
That is rough.
That's
not my favorite. I changed my mind. I don't know if I like him anymore.
You kind of hear Peggy's voice over this montage
John
of
Wick.
Everybody in town reading the paper. You know, they're all reading.
Yeah, they're all reading it.
Peggy's
Peggy's musings.
And her musings go as this. She says, you hear the expression, lie like a dog, often enough that it almost is a cliche. But more often than not, if someone is lying to you, they're a person. We all know a certain person who is lying to her husband. Every time we look the other way, we add a lie to a lie. Well, this reporter is not going to lie anymore, and you can print that. So I don't know what she was trying to accomplish with this. I mean, just get it out of her head?
Well, this goes back into people calling
Bad
Peggy an asshole or whatever you want to call her.
She bad Peggy.
Well, it's kind of a bitch thing to do. Like, this is
Yep.
like years and years. And if you were oblivious for that long and you're just now finding out, the whole world knows except for you, and you want to come and like throw the wrench in like this whole elaborate facade that's already there in place before you're aware of it.
She's also calling herself a reporter, which she is not.
She's not a reporter.
Just writing,
she's just writing musings.
Stuff you find.
It makes her feel good because she's published in the paper.
Well,
so,
it's like she's writing the same crap that you find inside a bazooka gum wrapper. You know, I mean, that's really all she's writing.
Well, you know, and I just think it goes back to Peggy being just a total jackass. Go ahead, Mason.
It is. I mean, she has a point,
Yeah.
but
She does.
It's ultimately
Well,
it's really none of her business.
Well, it's a
my
valid
thing-
point, but it's invalidated by the length of time that everybody's been oblivious. That
Well,
everybody's been aware and not done anything.
the only reason she's really outraged is because she didn't know. You know, and so now she's trying to prove to everybody that she's a good person by not only putting it in the paper, but now she's going to go over there and just tell Dale right to his face.
Well, that's what I'm saying is
Which
like,
also,
nuts.
does she not like? She knows Dale. She knows he's
Yeah.
not the most mentally sound person.
Well, and we find that out here in just a second. Yeah, it's we find out exactly what she thinks of Dale. So she is storming over to their house, and she gets confronted by Nancy.
she's getting ready to be a homewrecker.
She says, "Excuse me," and she goes, "Shug, listen, I love Dale, but in a lights on sort of way." She says, "Well, I
What
feel
does that
for you."
mean?
Well, she
said, "I like him, but I don't want to have sex with him." You know,
Yes,
he's-
that's exactly what she's
okay.
saying.
Oh, poor
she says,
Dale.
"Well, I feel for you, I really do, but you married for better or for worse, and worse includes Dale. Now, either you tell him or I will." She says, "Peggy, please, I'm not going to." And she goes, "Well, then get out of my way." And she walks right up to Dale, and Dale is sitting on a barrel reading the paper in the backyard. It's like a beer barrel.
It's a
right?
weird
It's like
scene.
it's like
Yeah.
a keg. It's like a full size keg he's sitting on top of.
Or like a 55-gallon barrel or something. Yeah, something like
She
that.
says, "Hey, Dale, I thought I'd like to take a little of my own advice this morning." He goes, "Having some waffles, are you?" "Having some waffles? Who
Whatever
said
the
anything
hell
about
that
waffles?"
means.
She goes, "No, I meant the longer one about." Oh, I guess she maybe had a musing in the paper about waffles.
Yeah.
I bet you that was cut out of the episode.
Yeah, it might have
I
been.
bet you that was, because he mentions the waffles, and she goes, "No, I meant the longer one about sleeping dogs." "Dale, I have to tell you something very important." Hank looks over, from next door,
He's like,
and he's got a
"Whoa."
beer, which makes me think that it's later in the day.
Or it might not be later in the day. He
'Cause I
might
don't-
be a closeted alcoholic that we
Well,
don't know about.
it
See, that
could
might be
be,
just
but-
a hinting that Hank might crack one open, a little 9 a.m. action.
I see Hank
Saturday?
I
Come
see
on.
Hank not drinking till noon.
And I don't think
I think
musings would
that's,
come. I don't think the musing she's reading would be in a Monday paper. Who's reading a Monday paper? You got to go to friggin' work. So you're sitting there on Saturday. You're
So
checking
you think
through
it's
the
only
Saturday
in the
paper.
Saturday paper?
Maybe not only in the Saturday paper, but the
It's not
only
the Saturday.
musings that most of the people in her life are probably seeing are the ones they're all blue collar people. Everybody
I don't
works.
think it's on the Saturday because
Well,
it was coming out in the paper where she went to get it when Dale was going out and going to work.
But he's an exterminator. He can just probably
Yeah,
works
that's
whenever.
true, I guess.
He might
Also,
work on weekends.
I guess
Bobby
you're
and
right.
Joseph aren't at work right now, unless
school.
at school. I
Yeah.
mean, unless it's summer.
That's true. I guess
Yeah.
you're right. Okay. All right. So I'd love to know about the waffles if anybody has any information. Artie, give me information on the waffles.
Artie.
She says, "No, the one about sleeping dogs lied. Dale, I have to tell you something very
Watch him
important."
send me just recipes for waffles.
And then Hank just kind of looking over from his, he goes, "Oh no." She says, "Dale, Nancy is not the wife you think she is. And John Redcorn, well, he's not the friend you think he is." Dale says, Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. Nancy and John Redcorn did something to your dog?
No, damn it, Dale. Nancy and John Redcorn, and then you get...
And then
hey,
Joseph comes running up. And he's like...
Awkward-ass voice.
He's got the awkward voice, but he goes, "Hey, Dad." And Dale literally takes the time and goes, "Just a second, Peggy." "Yes, son." And he goes, "Me and Bobby are bored. What do we do?" He goes, "Well, how about renting a videotape?" That gives us a time frame of when this came out.
This gives us a time frame right here, too.
But he goes, "Yeah, well, we want to see Encino Man, but we don't have any money."
Pauly Shore, 1992.
Classic. He says, "Well, I got 2 5s, one for you and one for me," taking out his wallet. And he goes, "Thanks, Dad." And he goes, "Oh, wait, I found some more. Can't watch Encino Man without milk balls."
Is that Whoppers?
I guess.
Malted milk balls.
Malted milk balls.
That's what that is. It's like the Whoppers.
"Thanks, Dad." And he runs off and he goes, "Oh, sorry about that, Peggy. Now, what was it you wanted me to know? She goes, Dale, I just found out the Vikings were the first visitors to the moon because she just saw this interaction and she's like,
yeah, she knows.
Man,
Well, that's the
this
thing
is going to ruin everybody's life.
She finally comes to the realization what the whole neighborhood realized, that sometimes some things are better just left unsaid. It's not like anybody's being beaten,
sleeping dogs,
abused. There's no like neglect for the child. There's no drug use.
Exactly.
You know, it's a weird situation that in 2022 has, become a fad, and it's not a weird situation. It's called polyamory. So let me ask you this, Mike and Mason, if you want to answer it too.
Yes, please.
Do you think that in today's society, if Dale, like if we fast forward King of the Hill, if Dale were to have found out in that time frame, do you think that Dale would be opposed to polyamory, or do you think that he would be accepting of John Redcorn and his wife's relationship?
It all comes down. It's all a person by person, but it really just comes down to how that person was brought up.
Yeah,
and whether or not they keep to those beliefs.
Well, remember his family's not traditional. Remember his dad is gay, so he comes from an untraditional.
We don't know that yet.
We don't know that yet. No, and I guess he doesn't know that yet at this particular point. But that's why we're fast forwarding.
He barely knows it in the episode about it.
Right now, no. But say we fast forward to the future. So we're talking about a future Dale. We're talking about a 50-year-old Dale. Would a 50-year-old Dale would be comfortable with the fact that his wife had a relationship with another man?
I think 50-year-old Dale. Nancy's already left.
Nancy's already left.
Yeah, I think she's gone.
Okay.
So anyway, she says something just off the cuff. The Vikings were the first one to the moon. He said, "Well, I know that. Why do you think we named our spacecraft after him?" Poor naive Peggy. Oh, well, that makes sense. I'm so glad you and I could have this little talk. I feel so much better.
Yeah, she's just fumbling her way out of it.
He goes, "Okay, I guess." And Peggy, she's walking away, and he goes, "Peggy." She goes, "Huh? You got a good husband there. He doesn't have the best body in the alley, but he's got a good head on his shoulders." And she says, "Yeah, I know." And then you see Nancy, and she's just completely relieved.
Yep.
She walks back into the garage where Hank is still sanding on things, I'm assuming. And he goes, "Well, how'd he take it?" She goes, I couldn't tell him. I guess some things are best left unsaid. He goes, "Yep." She goes, Hank, he goes, I know, Peggy. She goes, "I got you." And she says, "All right." He goes, "All right then." She says, "Great, pepperoni it is." And then they show a picture of Ladybird sleeping on the floor, which brings it all back to Let Sleeping Dogs Lie.
Let Sleeping Dogs Lie.
Wonderful ending. Wonderful ending.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great show.
I liked it a lot.
Episode. I liked that episode a lot too. And then
we get the credits
the
and
stingers.
Then we get John Redcorn. Peggy Hill.
Peggy Hill.
Yeah, man, good episode.
Yeah, it was
really
a good episode.
Really
I like it. It deals with the lingering question of infidelity between Nancy. We get an extreme explanation of it, and
we got an extreme explanation of BC Powder.
Extreme explanation of BC Powder. Also, one thing that I liked about this episode is you got to see how much Dale. There's not a lot of parents in the world, like when I was growing up, that would let a child interrupt an adult conversation. So the fact when Joseph came out there and said, "Hey, Dad," he didn't give a damn who he was talking to. He didn't care that it was two adults having a conversation. His son's interruption was more important to him than whatever the hell, Peggy was fumbling through. And I think that, it speaks to the humanity of Dale's character. And I like that because Dale is generally seen as this inhumane figure, this weird, wild, eats rats, lies with bugs, he's not the conventional guy.
But
he's already unconventionally, but he loves his son unconditionally.
And he loves his wife genuinely.
He does, yeah.
You're right about that. About everything.
He does.
He loves her so much, he believes everything she ever tells him.
He literally sued a cigarette company because his wife
wanted a facelift.
Yep. So, the guy goes above and beyond. Like literally above and beyond, because that whole episode with the cigarette stuff, like he goes extreme. He does some extreme stuff, like as far as what the legal system will allow in actuality. So I don't know. I like this episode for that reason. It shows a lot of different sides of some of these characters. Again, it goes to that character development thing.
Sure.
And you don't get a lot of that from animated shows.
Dale's a great father too.
I know we're going long, but I was gonna.
Sorry.
Why do you guys? So this was something that they've been teasing since the pilot.
Yeah.
Why do you think they wanted to actually fully say it? Do you think they wanted to just to have it out there so they could do different kind of jokes.
Personally, I think it was an era
or
thing. I think it might have been like for the era. You know, at that time, there's the Latchkey Kids. You know what I mean? Is around that time.
I think I still think it's depth of character. I think that they're developing characters. I think they're giving them all backstories. You know,
I think it's depth
as
of
you
character
go,
too,
you get
but
more
I think they
and
attach
more.
it to societal, what's going on in society at that time.
Maybe.
There's a lot more.
I don't know. There wasn't a lot of. I mean,
The
there wasn't a
marriage, the
big
nuclear family at this point went nuclear, if you will. Like it was when the nuclear family was falling apart. This time, you had more unconventional homes. You had more.
But it's not like they made a statement for it or against it or anything.
No,
so
I don't think
it's
they
not
made a
like-
statement. I think it was just like a societal observation,
maybe.
if anything.
I think it's just
If it's even
developing
that
of
deep,
characters.
but yeah.
What do you guys think? Write us and let us know. How do they find us, Rusty, to tell us whether we're right or wrong?
They can find us at BWAAAKOTH on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. And they can also email us where, Mike?
They can email us at Gmail. I don't
At
know our email address. What
gmail.com.
is it?
I don't think we have an email address for the
Really?
actual podcast. I think you could email me at rustyy@roguemedianetwork.com
and
or
I'm Mike at roguemedianetwork.com.
Mike at roguemedianetwork.com.
We don't have a BWA email address?
Nah, I've
Wow.
never done that. That's one thing I never did. I've got to. Well, what I need to do then is make a BWA email address and attach everything that I have for BWA to that email address.
Yeah, man.
Because it's all.
Well, I'll tell you
Scattered.
what. You know what? After this, I'm going to create a BWA email address so you can email us at BWA at
Is it gonna be
roguemedianetwork.com.
Okay.
BWAA.
Not BWA, KOTH.
Well, let's do it that way. BWAA.
KOTH. Just to keep it
KOTH,
true
yeah.
to all the ats that
There
we
you
have.
go.
So there you go.
BWAA, three A's.
3 A's.
Just like the
The
Automobile
title.
Association.
Yeah. AAA.
Yeah, just like AAA. BWAAA KOTH at roguemedianetwork.com.
Wimatanye.
Where am I talking?
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.